And welcome back. It's now 3 minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're getting ready to actually talk about the 2010s. Sounds like such a distant memory. I don't know if most of us can think back that far back, right? But nevertheless, we have a panel of people who will prod to do just that. We have, first of all, we have Jackie Castillo, who's an artist. Welcome to the show. We have Bryton, student athlete, and of course one of the staunch advocates for volleyball and its development in the country.
Good morning.
We have Ashton, DJ Ash Coleman, social media influencer. Of course, he has his own show. And then we have Tomas Diesel, Gongora, all right, marketing consultant. Yeah. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good
morning. Good morning.
So the first question, of course, is where were you when 2010 broke?
High school.
Wow.
Second form.
Second form.
Yeah.
I think I was
Gosh.
I was transitioning from a previous job into a new job in San Pedro.
Yeah, I was doing the same. I was finishing up my bachelor's degree and I was transferring from working with children with disabilities to working in my field, which is arts and entertainment, which was very exciting for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
At the time, any anxiety, any worry about going into the 2010s?
Well, for me, it was a huge life decision just to move out to San Pedro because I had applied for a job out there. And I found out 2 days before moving that I got the job, so I had to drop everything and pack up and leave Belize City and head out to San Pedro. And it was a big deal to me because you're coming into this new, environment where you've heard so much about the party life and the fast life and that kind of thing, and you don't want to get caught up in all of that in the midst of focusing on your career. So it was a big life decision for me and one that I will never regret because I learned so much while I was out there. I had the best mentors you could imagine. And it was really a life-changing decision for me in all aspects.
And I find sometimes when you are forced to do something that's difficult, like that becomes that life-changing moment in your life because transitioning from somewhere secure, like working at an NGO, impacting change, I was volunteering with the Red Cross, and then moving into my actual field, which is arts and entertainment, I was like, oh my God, everybody was like, how are you going to do that? Like, you really think you want to survive? It's been 10 years. Let's not say how old I am.
10 years older. And for you, Bryton, because second form.
Interestingly, 2010, I was not even an athlete. I was just discovered in 2010 by Matthew Smiling and Fred Gabriel, dead. And that's when I started playing basketball and just started to explore my athletic abilities. So I guess 2010 was the decade or the start of my athletic career.
Okay. Ash?
Well, 2010, I'm in Brook, so.
So you're in high school.
No, but everybody will know, like, me and my family is true of a real poor background. So 2010, I mean, a real struggle. Just for me, if you actually go to high school, was a struggle. I actually got to high school late, because we were really broke, like I said. So I just really try fight for it, continue just to finish, so that's what I was doing in 2010, man. I really struggle, honestly, and I really try fight for something because I may feel like, education important, which I still think is important, but what I notice, like with life right now, is something that not really play a big role, like who you know and what you could actually do other than the education we get, you understand? So, but it's still kind of important. But that was my focus. I just want to finish, that was my fight back then.
Yeah. All right. So 2010, what were you doing, William?
I have no idea.
I don't think I can recall recognizing the start of a new decade at the end of 2019, the way I feel it now in 2019.
Right. Because it was 2010, right? And it had jumped from 2009.
Yeah.
I don't think that sentiment had existed.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that was present in 2010 was the fact that we survived Y2K, transition.
Yeah.
So and so it was 10 years and we're still here. I
Yeah.
think that's the only thing that I could possibly
2000 was big. I remember that.
You know, the strange thing is, thanks to social media and like Facebook, they give you all these memories.
Yep.
And then I start going like, wow, that's 9 years already, or 10 years. You know, I think we were already
We were 1 year into the show.
so I think a lot was happening in terms of you just pushing yourself on a daily basis. That
True.
you know, you were adjusting to so much on a daily basis that it just
was
became,
completely different.
Yeah.
I think we that first year we realized with the popularity of the show that it meant a lot more expectations, a lot more recognition, and it was a really interesting year.
I
moving
have a
into
question for
2010.
you guys though. How did your life change when you started doing a morning show where your face was on TV every day? Because like I have my own issues with people recognizing my face.
Yeah.
Or like the other day I was in Brody's and I had my son with me and someone walked up to me and said, "Miss, you related to Jackie Castillo?"
I love when they ask me that. I say, no, it's my sister.
I was in mom mode, and so I was like, oh my God, I have to always remember, I have to look halfway decent, even if I'm going at the grocery store. So like, how has that been for you guys the past 10 years?
I'll let Marlene go first.
Well, William has been a very good mentor for me because he had been through this around the same age that I started, early on with Lauren. So I think that was a really good help for me in telling me what to expect. Because social media changes things, and you know, I've been doing the news for a while, but there is a huge difference between somebody who reads the news, because you're just reading what the editor writes, and actually presenting your own thoughts and your own questions and your own personality.
Yourself.
Yeah, but you know, when I first started the show, I used to tell William, everybody's gonna make fun of my laugh. You know, like they haven't heard me laugh, you haven't asked me to do it, but silly things. The record, it's weird, I guess, but also I also really appreciate it. You know, like I think when you meet people who are so genuine in saying that they love turning on the television in the morning and seeing you, or in how in depth you can go with an interview, I do appreciate that, and that part feels good.
Okay.
And I agree. I think the hardest thing was actually, strangely enough, if I don't speak, a lot of people still don't recognize me. You know, it's my voice that they know more than
I think
my
they're about
face.
it.
Not anymore.
No,
Way back when there was the high top, medium top.
that wasn't 2010, by the way. No, but still, you know, like if I don't speak, like people look at you, they look at you,
Like,
and
you
then
look familiar.
I know it was you. Kind of thing. But I think television can be, or any kind of notoriety can be a force for good. It can also destroy you in the process if you don't manage it correctly. And I think I just made some decisions, and we both did, in terms of one, we were co-hosts, you know, people always put you against each other,
Always.
you know, that kind of thing. So we managed that.
Yeah, it was an openness, It was an openness. I think naturally being on television, people like to do, I'm sure like people always want to compare to artists or other athletes or other hosts, like it's.
And social media, like I think 2010, it was the start of social media.
High five.
Well, high five was a little bit before.
Because I was already on Facebook.
There was a
transition between high five
to Facebook.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah,
right
it's around that time.
2009, 2010
This
time.
means we can hope we get the internet question. So here's what we're doing. We have a bunch of themes, right?
Nice.
And you're going to pick
I
one.
love the look of terror. Terror and
So we
horror.
dig up all your personal life and pictures.
He's like, oh my God.
This is your revelation show. Anyway,
And
you're going to pick a
anything
theme.
that you say, we're doing this disclaimer, anything that you say will be broadcasted.
I think in my ears I can see her quote.
Just remember that. All right, so let's start with you, Bryton. So pick a theme, and we're going to try to think of stuff that came up in the 2010s.
And you can say one thing immediately about it without thinking, right?
Good.
And so, Bryton, let's establish some rules, right? So you read
No,
the
there's that
question
timer.
and you point to anybody and they have to answer,
Wow.
so that there's this little bit of yeah.
All right, go.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Jackie. The individual artist. Historically speaking, the artist was a unique talent, a particular person that had a rare ability to paint, draw, or sculpt, or build. Today, there's an artist in everybody, and it's just a matter of finding the skill. Painters, writers, spoken word, every imaginable material and concept.
So is that a question, or is it just, or am I supposed to agree, or?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I guess it's true.
It's looking at the concept of artists, how it's evolved,
How it's evolved.
over the 2010s.
It has, like I said, social media has been so impactful in creating artists and entertainers where you never thought you would find them, like fat win cutters, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you look at that young boy and you can see that if he was guided and molded, he could be like a William Neal, just because he has that type of personality and charisma. And we would never really know that if that platform of social media wasn't there and trending wasn't a thing. And so I find that a lot of people, Belizeans as a culture, we are very creative people. We speak a certain way, we express ourselves a certain way. We're good with our hands because I have to work with a lot of artists. And what I find is that because perhaps our economy, you know, isn't geared towards everybody making it and you're competing, people have had to find some interesting ways to survive. You understand? So people come up with their own products, you know, seafood, seaweed for hair, you know, using leather to make accessories. That's creative, and it's also entrepreneurial as well.
And so many of our artists actually just start online. They're just
people become artists out of necessity. I started singing because I needed to create money so that I could pay for school. And I found out that people like to listen to me when I sing or when I'm talking. So it naturally evolves. Sometimes necessity creates that in you.
So 2010s allowed what for artists, would we say? Just having
a platform.
A
wider platform. It allowed a wider platform.
I think it also redefined what is art. Art was a very narrow focus, you know. You had this platform where people could literally go crazy, and that crazy could be rewarded in so many ways, you know. Or what we thought, and I use the word crazy in a way in terms of just instead of subscribing to this narrow path of, you know, art before you had to be able to draw and do a particular thing, to just being anti-art if you wanted to be, you know?
like the banana duct tape to the wall?
Oh my God. So,
do you know about that, right?
Like, that really floored me because really it's the branding of the name that made that such a big thing. Like if Beyonce did that, maybe it would also have sold $1 million. But if Jackie go try duct tape on a banana.
That's going to be iconic for 2010s. Come on. Like that's just unbelievable. Any other thoughts in terms of the evolution of art or artists in 2010s?
I've been a graphic designer for 20 years, and in the 2010s is where I saw a big boom in that particular industry in Belize. Not only did we have more access to education on graphic design, even through online platforms and stuff like that, but you had the older, smaller core of graphic designers that there were in Belize mentoring that many more people, that the industry kind of grew exponentially. As we're sitting here right now, both Ash and I are designers. And you know, there's countless other people that I know out there that I didn't know them as designers, and in the last few years, they're designers, and good designers at that. So we have lots of great artists here in Belize, not in the traditional sense of being able to draw and sketch and stuff like that, because when I started graphic design, you had to know how to do that and then convert that to digital. Now you can do everything through vector graphics and so on. And you don't actually have to know how to draw, you just have to have the thought in your head. And there's also an emergence of so many resources out there online for graphic designers as well too.
The software makes it easier now,
the software makes it so much easier now. So that's one of the things that I've noticed for sure over the last 10 years.
Nice. All right. Next
Bryton?
up, Bryton, you can chime in.
Oh, I was just going to say that I've noticed that over the past decade, more and more businesses, more and more artists in the entertainment industry on a whole, they have become more culturally intelligent in the music that they're producing, in the movies that they're producing, because they're recognizing that the more that you could reach the cracks and crevices of the entire globe, you're going to make more profits from that. So they're becoming more culturally intelligent as to what we want to reach, where we want to reach, the people we want to reach. And so they have been implementing that in their strategic plan with the way how they go about producing these goods and services.
I like that because I think that's a very solid point for us in Belize. I think we're finally learning that now as we move into this decade that you're not local, you're global. You know, and it's important to recognize that, you know.
And the true meaning of richness of culture.
And there was one, I mean, I know I want to ask this, but there's one interesting thing I discovered. Like when I went to Jamaica and I told people I'm an artist, they said, oh, you paint, you sculpt. But I had to say I'm an artiste for them to realize that I'm a singer, right? So I always wonder, how would Belize ever
differentiate
using, and I wanted to ask them, why do you say artiste instead of artist? That's a different.
That is so more fun than
art. Yeah, I know, right? So we got to move on. That was actually a buzzer. Apparently, we have a timer.
Oh, we have a timer. Yeah. Okay, good. So for the history books, guys, so many moments that will go down in the books in the last decade alone: 9/11 terrorism, air travel revolutionized, climate change altering the weather.
So we can just
hurricanes,
go into different ones.
World leaders, first black president, first celebrity president, Brexit, El Chapo found guilty, and president impeached.
Those are some that we're just like stimulating. I have
the youngest,
ones too.
Well, one of the youngest.
So I think.
Major historic moments.
One thing where I really into like the climate change and stuff like that. And from what I'm seeing, like, the world in a trouble. You know, the world is in deep trouble. I mean, a lot of the ice they melt and the Amazon on fire and all of that stuff. It really they affect the world, and I don't know how long we could last as a human race. The way how the things set up right now, I really feel like they need more stuff to protect the earth and the Amazon. And you know, people need to be more responsible, man, and you know, all the plastic we throwing in the water and all of that stuff that need to stop. You know, so that's the way I see from.
That's quite fitting with the generation. It's actually the younger generation that have become the activists for climate change, which is great. You know, I mean we all love watching Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg, exactly, and even before her, 30 years ago, there was the girl who's now 30-something years old, who was an advocate for climate change back at the UN in 1990.
Wow.
And look at where we're at now compared to then. We have talked about the issue time and time again, but what proactive measures, what steps are we implementing at the governance level to mitigate these issues on a serious level? Because there are things in place that we're doing, but how is it that we really and truly start to put our finances where it's necessary to ensure that we are countering these issues?
Let me just jump in here so we can ensure we get it in. What about local context? What kind of history was made locally?
I was just about to say that even on a local level, I think in the last 10 years has seen a serious boom in tourism here in Belize. There's been year-over-year increase in arrivals both on cruise ships and overnight. And that leaves a footprint here in Belize. You know, although it's been a good thing because of the creation of jobs and the boost in the economy and stuff like that, there's still a footprint left behind in terms of the damage when our protected resources aren't actually protected the way they should be or managed properly. And I think that's one of the things that are going into the new decade that we really need to take a serious look at, is how strict we are with tourists in terms of our resources. Anybody who travels anywhere as close as Mexico, the Mexican Riviera, can tell you that they're so strict over there with their laws and their rules in terms of littering, in terms of interference with the reef and the wildlife and stuff like that, that, you know, there's they leave little room for error.
Yeah.
And here, yes, our tourism industry is fairly young when you think about, on a global scale, but tourism has been a thing here in Belize long enough that we should have our act together by now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think it's something that we really need to work on.
Well, remember,
You said something I really wanted to tap on. Before 2010, if you left Belize, you had to have your whole speech prepared. No, not Brazil. I didn't say Brazil. It's below Mexico. It's part of the Caribbean. It's
I
not
still
Central
go through
America.
that.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, well, especially in the United States, you travel and it's just, Belize? My friend was just there. Somebody was just there on a cruise. That's on my bucket list.
yeah, a lot of people know about
There's a
Belize.
lot more
A lot
recognition.
more people, yeah.
I think one of the most interesting things about the 2010s too was the launch of the 2030, the Horizon 2030, and so it kind of encapsulates various areas where Belize government wants to focus on in terms of sustainability.
Yeah.
So we're at 2020, so it's a good time for the government to measure the first 10 years, you know.
Yeah.
Do you think it has been people though, in terms of just being, shopped out
It's
so
been
that people
shopped
understand?
I don't think there has been enough information given to our to the Belizean people about why specific things, like why is this government so focused on infrastructure? Why are we focusing on the gender policy?
Yeah.
Why are we so focused on climate change and sustainable
I think
development, entrepreneurship? There is the 2030 exit, the Horizon 2030.
on this so bad.
But it's true,
I
right?
think it has to do with the fact that we're way behind as a country and we're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
If we look at, for example, we have environmental policies and laws in place, but after being implemented, where's the enforcement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you go out in the field and you actually see these things, these violations occurring, you're like, but this has definitely been occurring for some time. Why hasn't the law been enforced time and time ago?
That's
Littering.
across.
You spoke
That's
of littering.
Yeah.
But I think that's a key
Across
issue.
the
If we were
board.
to look at the development in 10 years, that would be a whole different story too. But I echo your point that sometimes the policies are there, but we don't have the enforcement. But what resources are given for enforcement? Because that's also a huge issue. But also 2010s. We also lost. We saw some of the big things locally, politically. Who wants to talk about that?
In terms of what?
Yeah, we saw a first prime minister go third term.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was
That's
actually
one.
the first time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We-
I think there's also a lot of the, I guess you can say, the older guard are exiting, retiring, and we have a lot younger
The younger
people
politicians.
running
Yeah.
in government and stuff like that. So sometimes, and it's hard to keep up with who all is involved in different municipalities and stuff like that. But when I hear certain people who are chair people or who are alcaldes in their villages and stuff like that, and I reach a point where it's like people that I went to school with and stuff like that, that it makes me kind of proud and realize that the generation that I came from is really stepping up. And it's something for, even from the previous term, I started saying to people that we need to have more younger people in government.
I can't not get these two in because I'm surprised when I said it. The referendum, which is
Oh yes.
huge
Yes,
in
that
terms
was
of
huge.
history.
Right.
Right.
And we also buried the father of the nation. We lost him in the
In
2010s.
2010s.
Yeah, 2011.
2011.
actually.
Yeah, right.
2011. Okay.
Yeah. Any
Yeah,
other
those
ones
are
that you can think of?
No, I think the referendum
Well, we
was
lost
huge.
some artists too.
Yeah.
We lost Lila.
We lost Leela. We
Yeah.
lost Mr.
We
Peters.
lost Mr. Peters. We lost
Yeah.
Paul Nabor.
Yeah,
We
some
lost
major-
some
Yeah,
major
those would
artists
be-
in
And even some younger
2010s.
ones, John Jay.
We lost John Jay. Yeah, we lost.
We lost Rosita.
Miss Rosita.
Yeah, from the
Rough
dance
years,
company.
Yeah. So 2010s was a decade where we lost some of the,
And I think as we're talking about that transition, because very often the challenge is whether you'll have new people stepping up, but I think our biggest challenge will be how do we create that space. And I like the fact that social media, to a certain extent, emboldens a lot of people to actually step into a space if they want it badly enough, you know. So we're going to see some really interesting times, I think, going into the 2020s, because
These are like
people will demand to be heard, you know.
This
Yeah,
is like
sure.
a new generation. I mean, nobody really want to live that kind of old style again. Everybody want be out there and actually do things and be seen and be heard, this and like back then everybody kind of shy, only a few people really know that like everybody wants to show themselves. You understand?
Yeah.
True.
All right, what you got for us?
All right. The future is female. Put some respect on her name. Women finally getting their respect as the pillars of society. For example, women shattered ceilings in sports, art, media, politics. The Me Too movement, redefining beauty. Beauty costs became a lot lower. Selfies and filters became a thing, especially for women.
In the 2010s.
And then fashion in terms of, leggings, red lipstick, feminism, that kind of thing. Women with tattoos, women with dreads, the multicolored hair, etc.
Androgynous people,
Yeah.
So, who wants to jump in?
What else?
What's changed in the 2010s?
Well, one thing that stood out to me is my day job at Bell Trade. When I first started working there about 5 years ago, I came into an environment where my general manager, my CEO, and my minister were all women. And that was an interesting thing for me. It was interesting to have such powerful women in my presence and kind of learn from them and see the struggles they have to go through as women, even as women who have already been well respected for many, many, many years. Yeah. They still had certain struggles they had to deal with when it comes to dealing with the men in government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now it's reached a point where my minister, Honorable Tracy Tager-Panton, she to me is doing big things and has made leaps and bounds, in the ministry that I work in and Bell Trade as a result of that.
Yeah.
And I continue to see more and more women doing big things, and to be honest with you, I'm very proud of our Belizean women.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to go in terms of.
Well, I was gonna say 2010s we creeped. We still creeped.
I think I know.
We made progress.
Right, we made progress, but I feel in Belize. I think what social media has done is created some awareness of where we want to go and the direction of where we need to be. But it's still very, very hard. Yeah. Because one of the issues we had with social media was the leaking of photos and videos. Yeah. And the young ladies who went missing, and the responses from our culture about, how you could say that, I have to say in context of what Belizeans say, she must say they look for man or something. And I'm like, first of all, let's look at the safety issue. We don't know what the issue is. Yeah. We don't know why that person's photos was leaked or anything, but the visceral reaction from both women and men. I think in some ways, us women hold each other back a little bit more by supporting us. An idea, and we have to work on that.
That's a really powerful thing that you're talking about, because I think, on a whole, we have not developed a national sense of empathy for people who are victims. Yeah.
Right.
Very often, we turn and look at the victim. If someone is killed, right, and I talk about the value of life or hurt in any way, people look at that person and see what they have done in the past that makes it right for that person, Right. A woman dresses a particular way, that's why she was raped. A guy is shot because of his past, or no matter how much he's changing, we don't want to believe that he's changing at all. That's why he got it, Yeah. So I think somehow that's a part of the consciousness that you're talking about that still we have to work on in terms of a collective nature. I think very often about Shakira and her son, how she took that into, to say, listen, I want this to be a movement and stuff. And instead, when I'd go on social media, because I'm more an observer than a commenter, you see people actually making it seem as if though, she's doing something wrong, instead of saying, how can I support you to actually make that something significant for all of us?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we just had a post where a woman was threatened with rape, as a way to be malicious towards a man. And I think, I said it on the show, I said, it wasn't that surprising to me in a really, really sad way, because we see comments all the time on missing girls, on rape, on sexual assault, and there's just this, it's often been said that we have a very alpha male culture, and I think it's changing, but we are not anywhere near where we.
But
need
I think
to be.
as a mom, being a mom to a son has opened my eyes to a lot of things as well, because a lot of the responsibility also falls on us educating or speaking to our men. It's not even educating, communicating, you know, communicating a certain level of sensitization that yes, I'm a woman, and yes, just because I am asserting myself and my power doesn't mean I'm trying to compete with you. It's just that I'm trying to find my voice. You have your voice and I have my voice. Let's use it together, you know? And sometimes it's not balanced. Sometimes our culture, we're like, we have to focus so much on 11 days of activism, and then we don't have the men involved. So it's like, you can't just...
Or the men jump up and ask the women, where's the men's department? Right? About that, right?
Yeah, definitely there needs to be the fusion or inclusion of men into these discussions. We must become a part of the conversation to become a part of the solution.
And men are feminists too. We used to talk about that. There's a whole he for she movement that men support women in equality.
And I think, I know we have to wrap, but it's the either or mentality that we seem to have, you know. You can't, because in the Caribbean and in Belize, men are the ones who very often don't complete their education. They're disadvantaged in a lot of ways, whereas globally, you may have to be pushing for women to, you know, be educated, etc. We have that reverse in the Caribbean and in Belize. And I think it's how you create that space, not necessarily saying, because women are fighting for equality, and I use the word fighting very loosely, that it means because you're helping women that you shouldn't somehow tailor things to help men. Because
you don't want anyone left behind.
Because then they'll be marginalized. We have to look at that
seriously. You know,
we have
that's a major challenge for us.
But we missed part of the fun part of looking at the futurist female, and I really wanted to touch on it. So for just extend just a little bit. So the fashion part. Here's the thing. I was thinking about this, reflecting back. So here's some evolution. One, natural hair, embracing your natural hair. That was definitely a 2010s.
Well, I've been embracing my natural hair from a long time ago. So I mean, I embraced my hair from 2002.
Appreciating curves, right?
That's
so Victoria's Secret canceled their Christmas show, fashion show this year for the first time ever. Because of lack of diversity, the women are thin. Models are no longer, you know, if they're too thin, they're actually criticized in major fashion shows. But then we went the opposite direction, because then now the big curves are really something that people envy. So you got people drilling in the gym, but also getting plastic surgery to put in the curves.
Put in the curves.
So it's like we never end up in that. So natural is beautiful, but then we got to put the false lashes, and we got to put the false something else somewhere. You know, like.
Well, because it's beauty. It's not necessarily not appreciating what you have. It's just enhancing it to some extent. And I think that goes both ways. That goes for men and women.
One of the things that I think became a lot more acceptable in the 2010s too is women with body art as well.
Tattoos.
I'm a big advocate for body art. Obviously, most people know me as somebody who has tattoos, and I also do body piercings as one of my side hustles. But it's become a lot more socially acceptable as well as in the workplace. You see a lot more women even in you know, positions of power who have body art and stuff like that. I won't call any names, but I've worked with people who are like managers and general managers and stuff who have gotten body art. And
it's more rare to not have tattoos. It's more rare to not have tattoos than to have tattoos now.
Correct.
But I think, you know, the redefining of beauty is very important as well. And it creates a space for people to really champion uniqueness. You have to do something. You have to find, because life is a journey, and you have to find something that sets you apart from everybody else. And I think that's what's beautiful to watch, that people are coming into their own and they're recognizing that, you know, my lips or my freckles or my whatever is the thing that people used to give me a hard time about. Now the thing that makes me stand out, you know, and different.
But also, a lot of women, they will tell you look catfish too. because these days, I know, like, but then now when they have to put on a whole face, like
One whole filter.
Oh, like, yo, like when they go in at the bar.
Fishing in the open.
We do have one like that actually. That's really funny. But I do want to say the good part about the 2010s that we can acknowledge is that men aren't left out of the fashion conversation.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
William, you wondered why you were here because you'll take a lead on this one.
Hello. I mean, look at him in
He
his
used
suit.
to wear his skinny pants and people would be like, what?
Yeah, I used to take a licking for colored jeans.
And he had to take the pants to go get tailored to be skinny.
Oh, but then fitted is nice now. Do you
And I was
remember?
gonna say, look
I
at it
have
now.
an uncle.
Look at all these guys
He used
wearing
to-
fitted
yes.
pants in here, man.
I had an uncle who
fitted,
used to
but,
wear these big shirts and thing, and then now that
Guilty.
he's with his girlfriend and she used to buy him fitted shirts, and he's like, I'm not wearing that.
Yeah.
And now he looks so nice in his fitted shirts, and it's like transition from this. I used to hate it. Oh my God. I used to just look, what I call ragamuffin, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to use that.
Men fashion in the 2010s. Tell us
It's
about it.
fitted and nice.
A lot of the fashion that's coming, it's fashion that's coming
Retro.
back from
Yeah.
like the 1980s.
So
like,
true.
you have
Yeah.
gunmouth pants and
Yeah.
you
It's
have
a different name.
right. There's a different name with skinny
Your mom
jeans now.
schooled you a bit, right?
That's what we in marketing call rebranding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Rebranding. So
Yeah.
that's been a
Even
big
velvet and suede. I was shocked to see that was a trend last year.
Yeah.
The dresses and everything and the pants. Guys were not afraid to wear a velvet pants. I was like, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
You're
colors.
welcome.
Or colors.
That we are floral.
Yeah.
Like, you remember when that was
interesting.
taboo or
These
pink?
days, too, like people don't really care about matching everything. Now it's like you could wear like a
Yeah.
red shoes with full
Yeah.
black, or you
Yeah.
could, now things change, especially with like the fit.
Yeah.
The fit
Yeah.
now, I
Yes.
think
Correct.
is
Fit
big
now,
time.
big thing.
Now like everybody want to look neat and nice, you know.
And I think at one
Beards
point,
or
I'm
thing
trying to
like-
remember.
Yeah,
I'm trying
beards.
to remember the term metrosexual.
Yes.
You know, at one point that became a part here, where like people would look at you if you prim and
Yeah.
primped
Yeah.
too much.
Right,
But
right.
now everybody does it. That it becomes you're not afraid to wear something, whether it's a color or
Yeah.
a pattern or whatever.
Or being clean, like
Yeah.
Well
groomed
groomed.
and stuff
You
like
know,
that.
your barbershops, most barbershops clean up eyebrows
Eyebrows.
now
Yeah,
too. That
correct.
used to be like really taboo for men.
On the flip side, one of the things that's become acceptable in fashion too is to mix your casual and your formal wear together. Because you see a lot of people, especially in international fashion, you'll see a lot of celebrities out in a jacket like this, but sweatpants and sneakers. And so
We gotta
mixing
move
your
on.
fashion has become
Another
a
big one was hair. Even everybody's hair has been just so different, and not just natural, but color.
Yeah, look at this.
Dreads. I remember when I had dreads the first time. You know how much flack I took for it to go and work at a bank.
Yeah.
I was like that, and I was like in 2002, 2004. And then flash forward to now, and dreads is like, it's just a
Yeah.
natural
Yeah.
way for you to
Yeah.
wear your hair.
Except in the police.
I was just gonna say
I
that.
didn't want to touch that one. We have to move on.
That's 2010.
We have to move on.
That's not 2010.
It is. Next question.
You ready?
Yeah.
The power and scope of music / sports broaden. The musician and athlete are gods now. The ability to connect to fans and following got easier
right.
and stronger. The biggest artist of this decade, question mark, is it? The birth of fan armies and their mobilizing power.
Locally.
Beehives, the Barbs, Swifties, Monsters,
Okay.
Rihanna Navy, Arenators,
World
the
music.
Believers, Justin Bieber. World music gains center stage. Example, Afrobeats, reggae, reggaeton,
And the Palacio.
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Paranda. Constant debate over their wealth and influence.
Yeah.
I like that biggest artist of the decade
Oh, yeah.
Who's the
question.
biggest artist of the decade?
Internationally or globally?
International, never look up.
Man, that's a gigantic debate because it depends where you're talking about.
I would
If
say
it-
Probably
Beyonce.
I still say
I
Beyonce.
feel
I say
Yeah.
Beyonce.
Yeah.
You know
She's
what?
highest grossing, right? I mean, depending on your
I
level of
don't know.
success.
I don't think she has closing.
No?
Who?
Beyonce
Who would
drop
you
off.
say?
In the past
Who would you
10
say then?
years?
The
in
earlier
the-
part of the decade, she was
Yeah?
definitely like
She's
she
the
was-
highest grossing for the
Yeah.
past
Maybe in the
10
last
years.
couple of years,
Yeah.
but
I
maybe last
mean,
couple of years, but the
listen.
last 10 years.
songs like Single
And the second
Ladies,
is Rihanna.
Single Ladies
Gotta put
and
it
stuff
down.
like that. I mean, you'll never forget those
But
songs.
Jay-Z got $1 million?
Yeah, but
billion dollars now?
No, but we're talking
Yeah,
female.
We're
Oh,
well,
female.
no, we're not
But
talking female.
half of the
I think
female
we're
now.
talking as a global brand because remember, Beyonce just doesn't have her music. She has her music. She have a makeup. She have
Cosmetic
production. She
Yeah.
have perfume. She has
Endorsement.
Ivy Park, and this is why Rihanna is second too because Rihanna has
Her
Her
makeup.
her makeup
her fashion,
and Fenty, her fashion line. She has Puma. She has so it's like it's not just it's not just the songs that you release. It's all
Everything
of your
that you
brand, everything that you
endorsements and
invested,
your
right?
So-
projects that you
And we saw
start.
that with 50 Cent too, you know.
50 Cent used to do
Power.
that. Yeah, he used to do that.
In terms of television and all of that, yeah, power.
Water.
The water, the vitamin water.
I'd say Caribbean-wise, I'd say Chronix. In terms of he has been so good at pulling together a group, and he's one of the highest grossing Caribbean artists. Moving, because it used to be Machelle,
Yeah.
I think.
No, but what I was going to say about Chronix is he moved beyond the market he was used to. I mean, when I saw Chronix on Jimmy Fallon, I was like, oh,
Right.
Yeah,
Caribbean person.
Right. And he did it twice. And he did
Not
it
only
twice.
that, but what-
And Taurus Riley hasn't done it as yet. I don't know why.
What
Yeah.
Chronix has done is he's kind of emulated what
Bob Marley
used to do. And Bob Marley's day is one, maintain the culture behind the music, and two, use his music as a way to influence other artists on how to shape their music if they want to maintain their culture through their music.
Right.
Which is something that I see that, not to bash anybody here, but I think we kind of fail at maintaining our culture through our music here, and we follow trends. So we have a lot more, albeit very talented, hip-hop, dancehall, reggae artists here. We're failing to fuse our cultural music
agree.
with those music and push them out to the world
Right.
Yeah.
market,
Right.
which is one of the things that I constantly tell artists that we need to do. Take your culture,
Yeah.
fuse it with your music, and push it out to the
Well,
world.
I think that's what
Let me
Hala
give you-
did. Unfortunately, he's not really considered Belizean.
Well, that's true. But one of the things too that an example I will use that some people don't even realize, an artist like J Balvin, who is Colombian, there's a lot of Colombian influence in the instrumentation of his music. There's a lot of, believe it or not, salsa influence behind his
Yeah.
reggaeton.
Yeah.
But because reggaeton is hitting larger globally, he
found a
pushes
way
it
to
out,
merge it too.
Found a way to
Yeah.
merge it too.
You're even hearing like steel band in some of the instrumentals for music. It's pretty cool.
Correct. Yeah.
But
We talk about sports
Yeah.
too, and in sports, I guess Bryton to talk about sports in terms of I don't know.
Well,
I don't watch sports, so I can't say because it said art and it said music and sports.
but we had big sports people too that popped
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, correct.
I think a big part of it, though, is that people understood clearly that when you get an opportunity, your 15 minutes of fame can make you, you can extend it as long as you're creative and you can go into as many genres
Correct.
of life. I'm not talking
Right.
of music, of life. So you don't have to, because I am not into perfumes, that doesn't mean I can't partner with somebody.
Well, Usain Bolt have a whole
Right.
restaurant in
Yeah.
Jamaica. He has branded his name into like so
Yeah.
many different
Yeah.
things, and he's retired. Like how you
So
could just
it's
retire.
it's how you
Yeah.
do that, But a lot of people just thought that you had to be, you're recognized for one thing and you stay in your lane kind of thing. No.
But you find it a lot in sports and music. Like in sports, you have like someone who's a basketball player, but would have like so many different,
Tennis shoes,
right.
apparel,
Yeah.
Well, what I love too, and I saw a picture pop up, so maybe it'll come up. Colin Kaepernick. I love that people
Right.
are also recognizing the power they have in the following that they have, and he's such a great example. Really, just the ending of this decade, maybe it's previews of what 2020s
is
will
going to be like.
and that I could definitely look forward
One
to.
of the things I'd like to touch on too is the number of people in the music industry in Belize who have managed to infiltrate the international market.
That's
Because now
true.
we have artists who are out there actually producing bigger artists
Okay.
who are actually putting out music of their
Yeah,
own.
like King Kosa.
Like King Kosa,
right.
and then, for example, you have like Stig writing for Machelle.
Right.
and you have
Super G and Michelle did a collab together.
Yeah.
that was a big song. And then for example,
And even music producers, Ken Doyle has worked with quite a bit of the Caribbean.
Kenny has, yeah.
And
Us female artists need to step it up, man.
yeah, I think a couple of our artists have actually gotten record deals on bigger labels outside as well too. I think it was
TY.
Big Bang.
Yeah.
All of these guys are like doing big things.
All right.
And
So now we're going to do rapid round, right? I'm just going to throw out the theme because I want us to cover it and you guys just jump in. All right. 2010s was when health got sexy. All right. Everybody was trying to find the newest trend to improve their physical health. All right. Tell us about those trends for the 2010s.
We're looking at the athlete.
Definitely, we see a lot more people getting more active, getting into the gym. One point in time, I think in this decade, we noticed that there were a lot of people coming after work and going around Ring Road in Belmopan. And then we started to notice, like, pick up in Belize today, you see a lot of people at Marion Jones.
Yeah.
So definitely people are becoming more health conscious.
Yeah.
A lot of people, vegan was a huge thing this past decade.
Yeah.
A lot of people started
Because it's not
going
just
vegan.
health, it's health and wellness.
Yes.
Right.
If I could,
Yeah.
chime
Wellness
in.
became huge. Yeah.
Wellness became very
Yeah.
huge, like yoga and meditation and, drinking more tea than coffee. I'm not a part of that crowd. I drink coffee, but, and I also see it has made a lot of leadership, a lot of people who are in management positions have started focusing on meditation and yoga
mindfulness,
to kind of manage their handling the stress of life.
I think in the 2010s it was really revealed that a lot of the very successful people in the world were already accessing Eastern medicine or Eastern practices. And now it became mainstream in the Western part of the world, so we get it too, right?
clearly, I'm not the authority on physical health, but I'm a
mental
big
health.
advocate for mental health wellness. So taking care of your brain, taking care of your soul, as a matter of fact, too, has become a big thing, and it's something that is actually, something that should
Very
continue.
necessary.
Very
I think
necessary.
for the first time I've seen Belize speak so much about mental health.
Yeah, right.
Such a topic that we can actually talk about. And because first we didn't used to talk about it, but now we do.
And I think on the local, definitely the fact that we're a little bit more open to counseling, or getting help
Or
when
therapy.
you need it.
There's still
therapy.
more professionals needed. I was going to say,
more-
not enough to meet the demand.
Yes, because insurance doesn't cover certain things.
Yeah.
Even if you have health insurance, it's one of the things we have to look at in Belize.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's where mental health was actually one of our trends for this year, but we didn't want to call it just a trend. There are all these other terms that came up, like you're being ghosted, gaslighted, catfished. By all means, chime in and tell us what other terms have been born.
In the 2010s?
Yeah.
Man, turn up. Turn up was our turn.
Lit.
Yeah.
Lit.
Fleek.
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 B.
Bay,
Bay
oh
was
my
a thing.
God.
Bay, oh yeah, is Bay
Yeah.
still like B?
Yeah,
Of
people still use it.
course. People
Okay.
still
And the
use
screen says
that.
situationship.
Situation. I heard that one.
Oh my gosh.
What was that like?
There was also flirtationship.
Everyone has had a situationship circumstance.
Then there's-
What other terms?
there was also similar to that flirtationship was one too.
Oh, I didn't know that
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
Sexting.
Sexting.
Yeah,
Sexting has
sexting
become
was a
thing.
big one.
Yeah.
Nudes.
Nudes.
Nudes
Sending
became a
nudes.
thing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And all of them came
other
with
terms?
consequences.
Yeah.
Of course.
All of these things are carry a negative connotation. Actually, now that you think about
But
it.
I think the challenge is self-management and the fact that you like to court danger. A lot of us are adventure,
Adrenaline
adrenaline
junkies.
And so while, you can look at other people and see the negative repercussions for certain actions, I think there's always going to be this, how do you manage yourself?
Yeah.
When no one's looking, or when you think no one's looking.
Yeah.
Well, in this world, you kind of function with everybody's looking. Like, I don't know, has that changed for you? Like, there
I
is
think people
no
still feel
privacy?
like they operate in
Yeah.
the dark,
Locked in your box.
Especially with the advancement of technology, advancement
Yeah.
of social media. You have Instagram, you have WhatsApp,
Yeah.
you have Facebook, you have Twitter.
Yeah.
You have all these different social mediums, and now you're starting to wonder, like, is my personal life really like personal?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
You just have to not put it there.
And then there's
Agree.
But I think some of
Are you not
do
a part
argue-
of the 2010s if you're not active online? Like, are you?
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
there
I
are some
kinda feel
people
that
who
way.
I know
You
that
feel that way?
don't
You
have
kind of feel
social
that way,
media.
like,
Yeah,
like
correct.
social media. Like,
It's almost if you don't
they're
share.
like two worlds. They're
Yeah.
like,
A funny thing is that one of the things that's emerging now globally, I'm not sure if we've reached that point yet here in Belize, but there's that thing with mental health and spending so much time on your devices, not spending time with people or enjoying the world
Yeah.
around you. So there's a lot more people becoming aware of the fact that you have to limit your time online now.
Are they
Yeah.
though?
I
Because
think
I go to a concert.
Do
I
it
go
to the
to a
younger
concert.
generation. They don't learn communication skills,
Yeah.
and they actually they don't learn how to
How to
read
play
social cues.
with others.
Yeah.
And then there's some people,
So-
there's people who buy, use that to their advantage, because this is another thing that became, I think, in the 2010s, trolling. So there are people who will start fires online and they just sit back and watch it unfold.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we can dub 2010s the birth of trolls.
Definitely.
I hope they die in 2010s.
And
Literally,
Belize
let's
has
leave
a
that-
lot of them.
Let's leave that in 2019.
But I think you raised a point for me, because when I go to a concert, it still bothers me so much that everybody has their phone,
Phone up.
Oh my
as
god.
opposed to just
Enjoy
enjoy
the
the
concert.
moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take
You
like
take a
everybody else.
picture
I'll
and a
take a
video.
picture,
Yeah.
etc. And then I, step back and I live in the moment.
Right.
I'm not interested in showing everybody what's
Yeah.
happening or what's not happening. But I think that has become such a major thing for me that I watch my friends even now. They do something and they have to put it.
Instantly.
I
Yeah,
refuse to snap
crazy.
simply because I just think it's too intrusive.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. It's addictive too.
Right.
Yes.
That
Addictive,
people
Well,
will
it
do
is.
that.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And more they prove that you have an addiction to social media and
Yeah.
the reactions
Yes.
you
Right.
get
I
I think
online.
the problem is that we've become more and more narcissistic as well too.
I
But
think
you
it's
know-
just technology. Like, if you think about, I consider myself a mixture of analog and digital because I was
Brazilians,
born,
that's why.
I was
We're like mixed generation.
Yeah, like we're mixed generation. And so if you were born in 2000s coming up, even maybe like 1998, all you know are devices to
Yeah.
do everything. My son didn't realize that he couldn't just touch my TV. He think that if I touch the TV, I move like the tablet. So he's on the TV doing this. And
They
I'm
have
like, no, son.
They have those now too.
No,
Yeah,
they
they
do
do.
have them. I don't have one. But it just
Should
goes
have had
to
said this before
show.
Christmas.
It just goes to show that if you were born at a certain time, you respond to the world so differently, and that's why it's so important
Right.
to take the device away and have it's our responsibility to do that.
And I think
It's our responsibility to do that for the next generation.
But if you look at
Yeah.
world trends in terms of sales for Christmas and stuff like that, there's stores who traditionally were toy stores who have closed their doors.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like Toys R Us closed down.
because they don't want to play
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
toys.
that happened in the
Well,
2010s.
and it shift, actually, I think the 2010s will be the beginning of the end of in-store
Brick and
shopping
mortar. Yeah.
online.
You know
Like
something,
people have just
so,
moved
Right.
online.
yeah.
One thing where I noticed though, like especially like like the music field and it could be any field basically, but if you're not active on social media, people feel like actually they do
exist.
things.
Right.
Even if you do things behind the scenes, people know they say that they feel like you dead basically.
Yeah.
So and the DJ feel like they don't see you, they post a lot of stuff and they feel like active, like people
Yeah.
don't hire you for the
Guilty.
stuff again because they feel
Yeah.
like hot
Yeah.
there. But you actually do things, you just know to post it, that would kind of make it harder for people.
When
like,
social media became
if
a
you
thing,
want to stay off of it.
when social media became a thing, I was one of those people who was an advocate for it, to use for sales, marketing, that kind of thing. Now I'm struggling to get my personal life off of there and try
Yeah.
to continuously use it just for business or marketing.
Yeah.
It's a
I
real
have a
struggle.
interest-
Even Facebook is starting to become more advanced in using e-money now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even that will start to hold more users to continue using the social media platform. But also one of the things I noticed that social media creates a facade of
Oh my
reality.
gosh. Yes.
A lot of things we see on Facebook, that's not what actually is.
Life is.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and people aren't able to separate it. But here's one thing that I always think of, and I just say, man, if you really wrap your mind around it, your life and what you're exposed to, because we all spend a lot of time on social media, whether we admit
Yeah.
it or not. it's dictated by someone else. Like they created algorithms that they think you're gonna like, which decides who you're gonna see and when you're gonna see it. So I'm not even checking in on friends when I want to check in on them. I'm checking in on my friends when Facebook or Instagram has decided based on their algorithm, and that's like mind-blowing.
It's crazy,
to me.
and you know what social media do now, that like if you're not active on it for you while they send you a message, post an update, or post a status. Like, what you telling me that? Like, left me alone? Like, yo.
One of the interesting things about social media, and when I say social media, I mean WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Snapchat, is dating, Instagram. You know, like I went through a situation where I was
a situationship?
No, well,
Several, but
no, that. But I'm talking about communication.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to just communicate on the phone, and so I blocked people. Like I don't want to. We have. If this was 1998, you have to run around the corner my house, come call me. I find out at home or find me. And now you just have WhatsApp.
Now we don't even want to take calls.
If I post,
it's like text first, please.
Right, and then like no, we have to have like a real conversation. So like, what if I know the power WhatsApp to talk to you? We not like what is hello? I mean, come on.
This is interesting for you, especially maybe Bryton. It's just like, how do you filter? Because you are the younger ones here. And it's interesting what Ash said. It's almost like if you don't have a social media presence, you don't exist. In 2010s, I was told that I was too boring on like one person who's a big fan, and I appreciate it. It's like, I never see like everybody else does it, and you never put any. I never know what's happening with you, and I'm like, but that's how I want it.
That best thing.
Right.
But so and that's just. Imagine if you're trying to come up as a media personality or social media personality, a DJ, whatever it is. How do you get yourself out there?
I mean, getting yourself out there, that you just have to be consistent with it. The problem with social media, like I say, addicting.
Yeah.
Like some days I don't want to put nothing out. I just want to keep everything to myself. But like I say, if you're not active, then people feel like, you do things. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the way it is these days.
And I was just talking about that because I was saying like 2019 has been one of my most successful years for performing. Nice. I got a lot of corporate events. Like it was like, and I thought, becoming a mommy would have been like, but I'm able to manage it. Yeah. And I might not put everything out there, like I didn't release I did release a song, but with a group of female vocalists, but
Yes, you did.
we did that song, but then I didn't do a personal song or a personal album, but people kept calling, and so I realized that my artist page was where people started realizing, that, Jackie did this stuff, she's performing, she has a band, and then I was able to get a press kit. Thanks to Belgium.
And I think that's an important thing, is where you as a person, especially if you're a creative, where you're able to separate your creation and your products from your personal.
Yes.
And that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people, because that's when you get all the disappointments, because when people don't like what you're doing, people interpret it that they don't like me, and so there's this whole thing in internal battle that you have to endure.
But you see a lot of people think that way. A lot of people post things to get liked. But if you are a promoter and you do things like, let's say she was singer, I know a media man, I do all kind of different things. But when I always tell people, you post your stuff, no matter if you don't get like, the point is people see it. You understand? So use social media for promoting, use
the same thing.
Here's the thing. Here's the biggest difference in 10 years. In 2009, we launched the show on broadcast television. In 2019, you launched your show on Facebook.
Correct.
And it shows the difference a decade makes.
Even when we did Carnival broadcasting this year, we had more views on social media, on Facebook.
Because times change. Like now people, almost everybody I know don't cut out the cable because
the cord-cutters movement is there.
You understand?
Which is why we shift to ensure that it's always available online, because that's where people
everybody there online now.
So that's like what 2010 kind of Tadas. There's you
Yeah.
and there's life online.
Yeah.
So you live 2 lives. In my case, I live 3. I live my life, and then I have my Facebook, and then I have my artist page. One interesting thing I found is I had to change my name from Jackie to Jacqueline, because Jacqueline is my actual real name, and some people never know that me.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Last one, and I love this.
Okay.
Wakanda forever.
Why Black Panther?
Black Pride took on a new meaning this decade with all the challenges people face globally.
Yeah.
There was a focus on championing the rights of black people. Racial issues with police, authority, became a worldwide phenomenon. Worldwide cries for issues to be addressed from all corners of the world. Movies and docuseries as social advocacy tools, the resurgence of interest in African history, ancestry tests, people reconnecting,
Recognizing
to
their history.
roots.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
This decade was definitely an Afrocentric decade.
Yeah.
My sister, for example, who is a huge advocate for embracing your Afro beauty, back in 2010, she was nothing like what she is right now. And I think it's definitely the influence of it being promoted more on social media, being promoted through mainstream media. But I think if you look at the people who got recognized this past decade, you have people like Lupita Nyong'o, Raji, people from the music industry, from the movie industry, from entertainment on a whole. And then you look at this year at the Miss Universe pageant and how that just shifted the entire conversation about beauty. All these things are influencing a greater discussion, and it's influencing how people who are from Afro-descendants, how do we look at ourselves and how we embrace who we are. So definitely 2010 to 2019 was that decade that really and truly started to change the way how we.
And I think one of the biggest influence for me has been America. A lot of things that happen in America tend to trickle down into Belize somewhat, you know, and the issue with the police and profiling. I'm starting to. I never thought that Belize. Well, we haven't had an incident. Well, I don't know. We probably have.
With police brutality.
Police brutality. You know, understanding when you take out that weapon that if you shoot, you can shoot to kill. You know, sometimes.
Thank goodness we don't have armed policemen very often.
Not often, but we don't.
No, we don't. Not in the way that you have American.
And it's not so much of a racial thing, and that's the one thing I'm still so grateful
we're a mixed society.
for. Yeah, we still don't have. We have it, and I think Belize is more like a classist thing than a racist thing. And there are people who experience. I'm not going to eliminate that there are people who experience it, because a lot of the times when I'm driving, police won't stop me. But if I looked a certain way and I had a certain, you know, profile, I would be stopped, you know, and I think we need to kind of look at that, because then it's a thin line. It's very tricky what we're dealing with, you know.
And I think you know, the whole conversation about diversity is perhaps the more important one for me. Because again, it's not either or. It's not male or female. It's not black or white. You have all these, you know, shades of gray in between. And I think that's the thing. And brown and yellow and everything else. And I think it's very important that we recognize that you know, you can embrace yourself without you know, diminishing other people. And I think that's the thing. Not because I assert my Afro portion of myself, that means that I have to be telling people every time, you know, like, oh yeah, my great-grandfather, he was English, white man with blue eyes and all of that. You know, it's how you balance all of that, you know?
And you know, I thought the ancestry test was interesting, because now you actually have a percentage, you know, like you could actually do these tests and find out how much on what part of the world and all these things. But it is an interesting time. I like what you said, because in Belize, people don't always agree. But I don't think we're necessarily a racial divide. It's classism, but we also divide ourselves based on ethnicity and what we identify as.
Right.
We saw issues with the Garifuna culture in the 2010s, which were really critical. I can never forget Ms. Martinez, who wasn't allowed to speak Garifuna in the band.
Right. Also, too, there are some people online who thought that people were misappropriating the Garifuna culture during 19th because you had people looking at, oh, 19th is coming up, let's just have this celebration, or let's have this sale, or let's have this, like it's...
Or it was a culture
It's
day
almost
versus
like
a
the
Garifuna
culture
day.
is
That
being
was also a big issue.
exploited. And this is
there are some people who feel like that, you know. I tend to think a little different. I like to see more of a coming together. I like to see a child of Hispanic descent wearing a Garifuna outfit, because to me that's kind of how you break down barriers. You understand? That's just my take on it. A lot of people, there was a huge debate about the culture day thing online about it eliminating, and I think we are who we are, and we can't necessarily eliminate who we are. It's a way for us to kind of create awareness, but that's a huge debate. So
What you said about misappropriating the culture for financial gain and that kind of thing. In years past, people used to complain that if we jump straight from September celebrations into Christmas decorations in stores, that it's disrespecting the fact that we have a big cultural occurrence in between. And now that it's been included in many people's marketing campaigns and stuff like that, you will still have people who
I still hear
aren't
that.
as open-minded as yet to having Garifuna drummers outside the bank or outside your store, or to be playing Garifuna music in the store and stuff like that. So, you know, you can't please everybody all the time. You can only try and adapt to what the majority are kind of requesting and that kind of thing. And one of the things I would like to see more is a bigger education and spread on Garifuna music, because we have amazing, talented artists. I've had the privilege of working with like C. Wills and seeing how talented and knowledgeable these guys are in what they do, but it's kind of like pulling teeth to access the music if you're not from the area or inclusive in certain core groups that get access to these things. You know?
Distribution. But distribution remains to be a big issue for any music in Belize. How we distribute it is...
I think culture is a very tricky thing, you know. What people still don't understand is when you see someone, you can't quite expect what culture they represent. Because it's what you are, what's familiar to you, what you've been raised on. So, you know, I'll never forget, I'd gone to Awakate, you know, way down south. And the biggest thing at this primary school was the Miss Queen of the Bay. And they were all Maya young girls who all wanted to be Queen of the Bay. And you're there, and I'm like, you know, I'm shocked because, you know, the way they had a passion for it and everything, you know, I was just floored. But it just shows you that, you know, still, you have some people who think, okay, this represents this and this represents that. And I think because of the way the world is moving, you know, things aren't what they always seem. And when you see a picture, you still don't get the picture. You know? So you have to be mindful of that.
Acceptance. I think 2010s was big for acceptance.
True.
I think that's what Wakanda and all of that represented, our Miss Universe now that we have. You know, our Queen of the Bays were of all myriads of colors, and our Miss Belize.
2010 was a double crowning of...
Marlene.
Come on, these are the things you're really going to talk
that's
about when
definitely
you
a
talk about
standout.
2010.
The Little Red Riding Hood.
Sips water.
Sips the tea. But you know, acceptance was really big in 2010. You know, accepting people of sexual orientation, everything.
I was going to say. So we're going to close off. I wanted to throw out some of the local ones, which I think are really important because we are, you know, Belizeans. It's looking at Section 53 decision, which was actually reaffirmed in the Courts of Appeal yesterday. So in the 2010s, we finally moved away from antiquated laws into full acceptance of well, not full acceptance. Let me not
And
push
it's not
that
even
far.
acceptance. It's allowing people to live their lives freely. If
Yeah.
you want to be a certain, if you are a certain religion, that's your choice.
Live
If
and let
I am
live.
a certain religion, that's my choice. If you choose to do what you choose to do, that's your choice. It's everybody's choice. It's just it's a law. You have the right, you know, to express
define
yourself and
yourself
to
and
define
express
yourself
yourself,
how
yeah.
you want. And I think that's really it
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, well, we'll see where these challenges will go in the future. So we also have the decades of bridges and cement streets and roundabouts.
Oh my gosh. we went roundabout crazy this decade.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like there's an intersection. Put a roundabout.
Yeah, correct.
Fit one in. The referendum definitely important.
Drug planes.
Oh gosh.
I think that heightened this year.
And
That
what
what?
is
This year was like,
Yeah, and you know these murders, these beheadings and everything else, that's worrisome in terms of where we're going, you know, and just disappearances. I think for me that's really, you can't go out and lose yourself ever. You have to be aware of everything that you're doing,
yeah.
you know. So
So is there any one thing that like stands out to you as a Belizean? If you were to look back as far as you can in the past
Yeah.
10 years.
Memes.
Just like when you think back. Memes?
Belizean memes.
Oh man, we're ruthless.
Once you say something,
Belizean rice and meat.
and it's once you say
There are a bunch
something,
of them.
and
Yeah.
it's captured, it's gonna go viral, and whole of Belize will be
Yeah.
talking about it. So we have
Yeah.
created our own culture of memes.
Yeah.
You have memes out there, but the Belizean
Yeah,
memes.
I
the
may or may not regret saying this, but remember when Stop Bav was your source for
Yes, when
entertainment,
Stop
but it was
Bav-
also your source for scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and you know, that to me was a turning point when I noticed how much Belizeans follow almost anything that you put out there, and they take it and they run with it and they blow it up to enormous proportions, which can be used for both good and bad, and has been used for both good and bad. So at least there was some good that came out of that.
And we love a good scandal in
I think what happened in 2010s, though, you know, like the later part, people start get more sensitive. Like, to be a comedian, I think it would be difficult at the time. You can't really say nothing because everything offensive to anybody. Like that really crazy that you can't say nothing these days because somebody get offended.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I think what has changed is that traditionally, you would have these broadcast laws that would refer to TV and radio, and the people who worked in those mediums knew that they had, you know, there was litigation.
Yeah.
So you had that. But with social media, people feel like if I can write anything about anybody, then it's okay, you know, because I can do it, you know. And I think that sensitivity is critical though, because it's for you to consider other people and what they may be going through. And I think it's where you develop that social conscience that goes back to the empathy that I was talking about, that we have to somehow strike a balance. I think we've had conversations, for example, you know, where videos are depicting, I saw a video about 2 weeks ago where they're shooting down a young black man in the streets when that's the reality. I don't want to see that from my artists because that's not the direction that I think. While you have artistic freedom and artistic expression, I think you also have a responsibility to keep abreast of what is happening, you know? So
Well,
I think it's how you strike that balance.
It's
And you
ethics.
speak of the
Yeah.
political correctness. I'm thinking of Kevin Hart and what he went
Yeah,
through.
he got through a
something
big
10 years
thing.
ago, and it's still relevant. And
Yeah.
it brings me back to what Jackie said in terms of looking at marginalized populations. It was okay to make fun of people because we saw them as lesser than back then. But now we have recognized where their rights are equal to ours, and they are allowed to have dignity. And so it means that the rest, the comedy and all the entertainment has to move along with it. It's not necessarily
I know I'm a
political
comedian
correctness
yet,
isn't always. No, I hear what you're saying. I mean, because that's how it feels. And even as a consumer, that's how it feels. It's like you take it to you're being
everything,
too serious.
everything is offensive. Like
sensitive. We have a
everything.
very sensitive.
But it depends, you know, if they make jokes, they make memes about me. I remember some kids asked me, what do you do? I said, I laugh and let it go. What am I going to do? It's not insulting. They're just making a joke. But now if somebody wants to attack me because I'm a woman, or let's say I was a homosexual.
Yeah.
If I was a that's different. That's attacking who I am and not just making a joke. So I think there's a line that you're right, it's hard to maneuver.
I think once you've been memed, it means you've really made it in life. You really arrived.
Or just very conscious of your facial reactions afterwards.
Yeah, thereafter, yeah.
Your 2010s stand out.
Definitely with the advancement of technology, I think 2010 was the decade where a lot of people were violated in terms of their use of the social media platforms. And so my standout, well, what I would hope for the coming decade is that we implement cybernetic laws to protect the rights and privacy of people.
And that's a way to look forward to 2020.
We did have one.
I'm sure we'll probably get there. We got to wrap it up. So I want to say thank you all to come in. It has been great. It's been quite a reflection. And we'll see what we'll be talking about 10 years from now. Maybe all of you will come back. All right, we're going to go ahead and take that break. So we're moving into the celebrations for tonight. That means we got to get that bottle of champagne, which means we have our friends from Carl H. Menzies here. So please stay tuned.